Hey y'all, Dan Book Nook Noggin here with another book review. This time I'm here to review Grady Hendrix's Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Man, that is a mouthful, and I will admit the first time I had said that book title on video, in my TBR video, I had messed up saying the title because it is a mouthful. I literally just finished this book last night. The hardcover of this clocks in at around 400 some odd pages. And I gotta tell you guys, this is my first experience ever reading Grady Hendrix, even though I own and have on my shelf his book Horror Store. This author is really super hyped up. He's right up there with Josh Malerman and a couple other folks who I always hear his name bouncing around in the horror booktube community. And I was like, you know what? I've seen this book pop up in so many TBRs and book hauls. I'm like, you know what? I love a good vampire book, so let's check out this book. I will admit, keep in mind that it is a little over 400 pages. And when I tell you this, the very first half of this book is very, very much a slow burn. It is a slow burn for a good half of this book. The first quarter of the book is just setting up the Southern Book Club. It introduces you to Patricia Campbell, her two kids, Corey and Blue, her husband, Carter, and all the members of the book club, which I'm going to try to name some of their names, but I don't think I'm going to be able to remember all their names because there's a lot of names of people in this book. There's Kitty, Slick, Grace, and, Mary Ellen. So I think I got them all, but I'm not 100% sure. And then Patricia has a mother-in-law whose name is Miss Mary too, so keep that in mind so you don't get people confused when you go to read this. So, I keep seeing that this book is compared to Steel Magnolias and Fried Green Tomatoes, which I have no inkling. I'm aware of those films, but I've never seen them, so I can't verify and say, oh yeah, this book is definitely like that. If it's embodying it in the sense that they are Southern ladies, then yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, that is spot on. But I've never seen these films. I should probably eventually watch them someday. But no, I have not seen them, so I can't verify that is true. One of the things I can verify and try to say that it is comparatively like is Fright Night, the one from the 80s. This kind of had vibes of that. I've listened to a couple of podcast interviews with Grady Hendrix, and I think he even admitted that until after he had written the book, he kind of looked in reflection. He's like, oh yeah, it does kind of have that Fright Night feel. But yeah, it is very much a slow burn. Like, for instance, when she's introduced, because it's all from Patricia's perspective, when you're introduced to, it changes perspectives throughout the book, but the first part is from Patricia's perspective, and you're introduced to the book club members, and it even goes into details like how they dress and personality-wise. Like, you kind of get an idea what their personalities are like based on how they dress and their commentary and where they're from and stuff like that. She seems a little bit judgmental in that regards, but, it just kind of sets up so you kind of get this, this relationship between these book club ladies, which I guess kind of helps you understand why things go the way they do later on. One of the things I kind of noticed, and you kind of have to remember, it's, back in the 90s, and I guess, men talk to their wives still this way, but, you kind of get this impression that these ladies don't really have any control, and they're just kind of looked upon like they're just housewives. What do you know, you silly girl? Stuff like that could be kind of frustrating at times while you're reading this. But you're kind of slowly introduced to the story, and you kind of get an idea of what's going on. There's a stranger who comes to town, and these mysterious events are happening. Like, some people are going crazy. There's a lot of, there's suicides and stuff like that, and a bunch of craziness starts to happen. And it's not really until you get to, like, maybe the halfway mark, things start to happen and things start to get interesting. I feel like it was long overdue. I felt like there was way too many drama type scenes that led up to that moment that were very unnecessary. I know people say this a lot of times when they talk about Stephen King's books. They feel like sometimes there were some good chunks that could have been taken out that would have made the story much more enjoyable and much more readable. And I very much have to say that with this book. They do go into some background, and like I said, there were some interesting things, but some of the drama, there was just way too much drama going on in this book that I felt was very unnecessary. Once you get to that halfway, the climax of the book, and things start to get interesting, it does start to ramp up a little bit. And there was this one very, very frustrating period where a lot of time passes. I'm not going to say how much time, and I'm not going to say why time passes, but it was such a frustrating scene that, like, I was like, why? Why would you choose to go that way in this story? Because when I went into this book, I thought it was going to be just a straight shot. Like, it was going to run just like Fright Night. Because it got those Fright Night vibes. I thought it was going to run just like Fright Night. That events should have just rolled into, the way it should have went. But no, a good period of time passes. And then 3/4 into the book is when things really, really ramp up. And I'm not going to spoil it. But, and another thing I want to bring back you to is that if you are someone who's read a lot of vampire fiction, this is not your traditional vampire. This is Grady Hendrix's version of a vampire. It is very much the same in some regards, and it does, like the original Dracula, kind of has those sexualized kind of moments. But it is a very different kind of vampire, although it is kind of still leaning towards the traditional vampire. Just so you know, it is very different. It is slightly different. It is not the same as every other vampire book. This is Grady Hendrix's take on the vampire. So yeah, they finally just decide to go ahead and do something in the last third of the book, I guess you could say. And I was satisfied with that. I was thinking this was going to be a 3-star book up until that 3/4 mark. Once you got to that 3/4 mark and everything ramped right the fuck up, I was like, okay, you got me convinced. I decided to give this a 4-star rating on Goodreads. Like I said, it was that last third of the book that really sold it for me. But, I mean, it did have its problems. It did have way too many dramatized scenes that were unnecessary. A lot of that, kind of... I'm not from the South. I mean, what I know of the South is from, maybe some folks that I listen to in podcasts or I know online and from movies and media. I don't really know, that people in the South are all like this or not. But, like, you kind of get this little taste of what it's like Southern women. And I found it to be interesting in that regards. It was interesting, and you kind of see, like, a little bit of, like, the class structure and races, stuff like that, and I found that to be interesting. It was a good vampire book, and I'm going to say that I'm going to definitely check out his other works. I know that he does have a background in writing. I guess from listening to his podcast, he got to start writing for Playboy magazine, which I didn't know, and I found that to be interesting. He wrote for a catalog for DirecTV, stuff like that. So he's got writing chops. And he wrote that nonfiction book, Paperbacks from Hell, which is about collecting, horror paperbacks from the 70s and 80s. I mean, that may be even interesting to check out, too. But this book, I decided to give it a 4 out of 5 star rating on Goodreads. It's a pretty damn good vampire book, in my opinion. Just be wary that it is a slow burn to start. I mean, if you're one of those people that just doesn't have patience for books, like if you're one of those people who's like, oh, 50 pages in, this book is so fucking slow, it sucks, I'm putting it down, go past that. You're gonna definitely want to go past that in this book because it's so much worth it. Once you get halfway into this book, it's going to start to pick up speed. It's just that roller coaster going up slowly up to that summit. And once it hits that peak, you're going to be going down, and then it's going to get really fast, really quick. But yeah, for those of you folks in the U.S., I will have a link to Amazon down below. I'm going to find it on bookshop.org for you people that are international. And of course, as always, I will throw down my coffee link if you don't mind buying me a coffee or two. I can use the energy and the motivation. I'm currently at 801 subscribers, so I'm like 199 away from reaching 1,000. Feels so far away, but yet so close. But yeah, that has been my review of A Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. If you came here looking for book reviews and book recommendations, please hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit that notification bell. This has been Dan. Stay tuned for my next review. Till then, stay healthy and be good to each other.